Folks, welcome to an all-new episode of So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan. This is your Saturday episode. We are doing a Summer House recap. We also have a Southern Charm recap. I think I'm going to have to split that into two because I talked to Rodrigo from Southern Charm yesterday in person, and I want to add that to the beginning of the Southern Charm. And I just don't think I can do a gigantic episode. So this will probably be split into two, but this is the Summer House. If you are a Summer House fan, you are in the right place. And if you're a Southern Charm fan, you're also in the right place because Craig Conover is actually on this episode of Summer House. And we have this unique experience this season of playing out a storyline between Paige and Craig over two shows, Summer House and Southern Charm. And they're set at different times, but you can gather that Summer House was shot later than Southern Charm because you can tell that Paige's annoyance level at Craig is building. Like, it's building in ways that Craig is not able to see it. But isn't that always the case, is that we can see things about other people's lives that we can't see in our own? So Craig, I think, has no awareness that, I mean, maybe in subtle ways, but for the most part, he thinks they are locked in. And we're all going, oh no, she's completely out. In fact, it looks like she has been not stressing, but thinking about dissolving this relationship or feeling funky about this relationship for months and months. And obviously we have this scene in Summer House where her and Ciara are having a bedroom conversation about this, and it seems like they've had this conversation multiple times between Ciara and Paige. Sorry, I'm just really excited. I am really excited to talk about Summer House. Now, I usually say, and this holds true on this episode as well, is Summer House is about vibes. And I don't want that to be misconstrued because it also has storylines. It's just not dependent on storylines. But the other great thing about this is that you can tell that most of these people want to be there. And by most of these people, I mean Wes and Jesse, the two horniest guys this south of the Mississippi that you will ever meet. These guys, it's like 3 testicles of testosterone. And then we have Imrul. And Imrul's main function on this show is just to provide housing for 5 hours every night to a different random girl in the Hamptons. Now, it's funny. It's not funny per se. I was about to say it's cute. It's neither funny nor cute. I mean, I'm fine. He seems to be open and honest with all of these women that he's bringing back. But I will predict that eventually this might get annoying because if you are just getting to know somebody and the only experiences you have with them are they're consistently having threesomes, foursomes, twosomes, onesomes, that then becomes like, dude, are you okay? And also, do you want to hang out, or are you just using this as a place to like bed multiple women? So I wonder if that's going to continue to be a fun piece of Imrul's. I mean, right now it seems to be the majority of Imrul's storyline. So will it switch at a certain point? And I do wonder about the other women in the Summer House. And I don't think any of the women in the Summer House are prudes, but I will say, I wonder if there is an uncomfortable, like remember Jersey Shore, classic Jersey Shore, when, the situation would be bringing hand grenades back and all women, and they'd be like, these strange women are walking around our flipping house. Are you kidding me? So I do wonder if that will get old for this cast. Now, there's a couple things right off the bat that I want to mention as well. I've said this before, and I feel like I'm going to have to lay down the law. Now, remember, I have no power on any of these shows at all, but I am laying down the law. We're going to have to really limit phone use in the Summer House. Paige DeSorbo, her popularity is at an all-time high, but I think we need to limit phone usage. Like we have, I'm finally getting used to the fact that she is melded and is one with the bed, and Ciara's one with the bed, and Amanda likes to be in the bed. I like to be in my bed as well, right? I'm bummed that I can't podcast from my bed. Now that I'm thinking about it, I might be able to podcast from my bed. We'll try it out. But it gets a little like, yo, can you pick your eyes up off of your phone? Like it almost feels like you're cheating on an exam or you do not want to be there. And by the way, I know this because I'm on my phone a lot. And it's usually because I'm the most comfortable there. So obviously Paige is the most comfortable on her phone in bed. Same, right? But you are actually on a TV show. We want you to be a part of these conversations. When Paige is a part of these conversations and she's up and moving, she's fun. I get it. But I always have held true. This is show. It's not called Summer Bed. It's called Summer House. It's not called Summer Phone. It's called Summer House. I'm okay with certain amounts of phone usage in this show, but if you notice every scene with Paige, it is like looking down at the phone. And I just think we can move beyond that at some point. Or we just need to set up some restrictions, right? Just set up some restrictions. Anyways, I loved this episode. I love this episode. And guys, the other thing, and I've been doing the show for so long, and it still surprises me, some listeners, or if you're watching on YouTube, hi, hello, is that it surprises me is that, like, guys, if I dislike something, there's different kinds of dislike, but if I dislike something or dislike a character, that usually means my overall enjoyment of the show is better. Like, I love to make fun of the fact that I think Jesse Solomon and Wes Wilson are walking red flags. I don't want them to go anywhere. No. Like, the things that I don't like are when, just like this season of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, I felt like it was just everybody was just acting, I don't know, just like phoning it in. That's the stuff. Like, just like the overall boredom of a certain show where I'm like, yeah, this is acceptable, but we can do better. But Summer House, everybody wants to be there for the most part, but West and Jesse especially, they really want to be there. I think they love the attention they get from the show. I think they like being noticed. I think it's like that kind of evergreen thing that, or that thing when you start to get noticed for something and it's really exciting at first. And so they're like, man, Jesse Solomon. And it's also such a great dating card to like hook up with other girls. Like, they know the power of this show, and they're younger, like they're in their late 20s, right? And where you've got the other flip side of that, you've got Kyle and Carl, and they are both not slowing down, but Carl is fully sober. I mean, listen, we watched one of the most awkward first date things with him and Lil, the yoga magician, which I loved as well. Like, I think the Summer House can do two things at once, but I wish that Jesse and West would look to Kyle and Craig as like the ghost of Christmas future, of like, this is what our life could be like. Can we learn from them? Right? So they're the ones always wanting to go out. They're the ones always stumbling home drunk, tripping up the stairs. Whereas the women, they like to gather in a circle, in a cuddle puddle on a bed, eat McDonald's, look at their phones, which I like. But these women, they know where the bodies are buried. And I am curious sometimes. I don't know, but you just also get the sense that at its core, they're friends. They're friends. Even Jesse and Wes, they really were able to infiltrate this group. Now, Wes Wilson, like, well, Ciara doesn't like me. Oh, I've tried so hard. Why doesn't Ciara be nice to me? It's old, dude, because it feels like you're doing that storyline for us, the audience, instead of like the storyline for those people there. Like, who gives a rip what we think? I mean, you are damned if you do, damned if you don't. And that's what I kind of feel like with everything these days. You know, you're going to have people that like you and people that hate you. And there's no way that you can make everybody happy. But like, if you want to act a certain way towards Ciara, act a certain way towards Ciara. But also don't act mystified about how she's responding. Because, dude, you're like, how you fucking did an interview talking about a relationship that hurt somebody. Like, you could have given that person a heads up. Been like, oh shit, you're right. I totally get it. Oh my God. And move on with things. But you don't have to be like, oh, I'm the victim now. Oh my God, I'm the victim. And it just, you can't be selective. And that's my problem with Beverly Hills about what you share. Like, West is scared to share with us, like, who he's hooking up with, or like when he says I'm on a buddy's couch. No, you're on a girl's private area. That's where you're sleeping. And you're scared to say, because you don't want to hurt Ciara's feelings, but you're also not saying it because you don't want us to have the information, the audience. We, in some ways, are the 10th cast member of Summer House, the audience. And you've got to have this kind of magical position where you pay us no mind, which is close to impossible. I understand that. But you have to, live like no one is watching. What was that? Like, dance like no one's watching? You got to do reality show like no one's watching. You got to just be you, for better or worse. And I think West is in that little bit of a shell shock thing of, he was so beloved of like, that's a good guy. And then, as always, with all of us, including me, all men spoil. all men spoil at some point. And it doesn't mean we can't be better. It doesn't mean you are spoiled for life. It doesn't mean you are bad for life, but you have to learn tough lessons through life. And sometimes the life will send you that lesson again, again, and again, and again. And, like nobody is eternally bad. I truly believe that. I truly believe that. But it is interesting. Like West, we're really harping on West. But I really would like to draw attention to Mr. Jesse Solomon. I think he is the ultimate, and I'm using this term loosely, ultimate evil. Like he is the ultimate one where he is playing so many games with so many women and he's doing it with his big toothy smile. And it's so charming. It must be so charming because he even has Amanda Batula still saying that him and Ciara should hook up. Like, girl, don't you understand? It's Wes 2.0. Wes was interested in Ciara until they slept together. And once that hill was conquered, it was like, peace out. You think Jesse would oh no, we're seeing 3 weekends in that he's already so confused about Lexi, but he's not confused about Lexi in that it's changing his behavior. He's still grabbing ass with Ciara. He's going into a threesome and sitting there for 37 minutes, which by the way, what's creepier, going into a threesome uninvited and just staying there and watching and getting a toe sucked? Is that creepier, or is it creepier to participate in the foursome? To me, they seem like pretty even levels of creepiness. But this dude wants his cake and he wants to eat it too. Like he wants it all. And then he kind of just no, Lexi's better than some foursome. You were literally in the bedroom for 37 minutes. How would you ever then have the balls to say that? This dude is going to get caught up in so much mess. And this is why you got to come down hard on him. And because he needs to learn, because dude, it's like Back to the Future. Like you are good. I can see 2 seasons from now, you are going to get yourself into so much trouble that it is going to get to a point where we cannot laugh about it like we're laughing about it now. Like right now it's cute and funny and it's like, oh, we all know guys like that, or we've been guys like that, or we kind of see that and it's funny and we can laugh at it. I'm telling you, something will happen within the next 3 seasons we will not be able to laugh about unless he kind of grows up from this stuff. Now, somebody said in a comment to me of well, listen, he just found out he was cancer free, so he's finally living that free life. Dude, I totally get it with the cancer free thing. Yes, my God. As always on this show, what do we say? We say, fuck cancer, right? A big fuck you to cancer. Hey, cancer, I hope you're not having a good weekend this weekend. All of us, I hope we are. But fuck cancer. But remember, even before he knew he was clean of cancer, the dude was going on 5 or 6 dates a week. Do you remember those scenes in Summer House? It wasn't like he started ramping up the girls after he found out he was cancer-free. That was Jesse's MO before Summer House and during the first season of Summer House. So I do appreciate that argument, and logistically that makes complete sense. But that's not, I don't think, what we're looking at here. And also, Jesse was the one that love bombed Lexi so fucking hard in that first weekend that he kind of trapped himself. And he is going to try to find a way to paint Lexi to be the bad guy. And I get the feeling that some people I notice don't really like Lexi. That's fine. That's your business. But don't have it be because of the Jesse relationship. That is Jesse hook, line, and sinker. I'm really obviously, as you can tell, very excited to talk about this episode. If you like the show, and why wouldn't you? Come on, I'm such a sweet guy. Rate it 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Support our sponsors. Subscribe to our YouTube. We have a Patreon. I think I'm going to do a Justin Bieber episode this weekend, which I'm looking forward to. That's it. But are you guys good? Are you hanging in there? I always ask that every day because it's like asking myself. Sometimes I'm barely hanging in there. Man, when it gets to Wednesday or Thursday, I get so exhausted and I'm just trying to get through. And I know I'm doing too much, but at the same time, I don't know how else to do. I always say to people, it's I work with great people like Sandra and Maritza and stuff, but I just need somebody glued to my hip 24/7 that is telling me, now you need to do this, now you need to do that. And I'm good at the big things, or I can do a podcast, right? Or I can go to do Jeff Lewis live, or I can go in the studio to do an interview. Those big things I'm good at. I can do that, right? It's all the little things, answering emails, answering DMs. I get so in it's like my ADHD it really makes me I just completely freeze up. I can't do those things. I know I'm not the only one that does this. I was talking to my therapist about this, and she was like, yeah, that's ADHD. It's like, because I'm like, well, no, I thought ADHD is that thing where you're like able to crank out everything and you just go, 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 go. And she's like, no, that's not it at all. Is that I can easily get overwhelmed. Like these things don't overwhelm me. It's all of the small things that I just let fall by the wayside. I'm like, I don't need to wash my car. Or I don't need to, I can't do that. I can't do that. And it becomes impossible. Oh my God, 10, 12 years ago, I would have been an interesting character on Summer House. No, I would just be that creepy guy in Emerald's threesome, just going, hey, anybody thirsty for water? It's hot in here, huh? Do we want to open a window? What's going on, huh? Yeah. Anyways, and as always, with Summer House, what they do kind of, I think, brilliantly, even though I think I watch Summer House in a different way than other people because I genuinely enjoy the show even when nothing's happening. I think it gives it its own unique style. Because I don't like when nothing happens on other shows, but for Summer House, I'm like, I'll allow it because I know eventually something will happen and it just makes it all the more real in a sense. But the other great thing it does, and people, like I said, get annoyed by this, is that they all dress up in costumes every week. And there is nothing more delightful and comedic than a Craig Conover, Kyle Cooke intense conversation about spritzers, of all things, in pirate outfits. Like, I love that these serious, and I was like, what is the most serious conversation we can have in regards to pirate outfits? Like, eventually, will somebody kill somebody and it'll be during one of the costume parties and it's going to be like, why are they all in astronaut outfits? It's like, it's so bizarre. And you can even tell, that's the other thing I don't care about, like, Kyle and Carl getting older because you can tell they're probably getting somewhat tired of putting on the costumes, but it's like fucking Batman. Suit up, dude. This is the Summer House. You got a job to do. Put those costumes on, have intense conversations, and start dancing. Start dancing. And you can tell sometimes the party's gone on too long and they're trying to do like footage of them dancing. Like, okay, it's getting night. And Kyle's always out there in like a big shark inflatable and he's like, raise the roof. I love it. I want to see it forever. I want to make Kyle stay on Summer House until he's like in his 70s. I want to see it every fucking year. I want to be able, I want to be able to gauge how old I'm getting while I gauge how old Kyle is getting on Summer House. But overall, I thought this episode was flippin-tastic because it just had a little bit of something for everybody. Okay, this episode is called Towing the Line. Get it? Because of Jesse Solomon's toes at the end. I love it. The description the cable company gives us says Carl gets back in the game with a new girl. I mean, I guess we could say getting back in the game. Okay. Kyle and Craig finally address the elephant in the room. And that's Spritzer Wars, folks. That's right. When two grown men fight about spritzers, you know it's just machismo. Oh my God, the testosterone flowing over spritzers, for the love of God. Oh, what a just love it. Low-hanging fruit. So they're all dressed up. Remember, like Ciara always does these costume parties really big. So she's dressed up as a parakeet with like colored contacts. And we find out that Carl met his summer house party date Lil at a soccer game that he went to by himself where he met Lil's parents. And I think the parents hooked Carl up with Lil. And by the way, like that, I mean, Carl at this point would be somebody you would want your daughter to date potentially because you're like, well, he's not doing drugs and alcohol, right? But he is on Summer House. Now, there have been some rumors, as Meredith would say, that that this girl Lil has been in a couple of the DMs of other cast members of Summer House. Who knows if that is the case? We do know Lil shows up again on this show if you watch the mid-season trailer at the end. But it was... this is my nightmare. Like, first off, it's a nightmare to be on a reality show. The other nightmare to be on a reality show. And then you are seen doing the worm, as we see Lil does. And that she carries around a deck of cards for magic. I am Lil, the magician, the amazing Lil, performing 5 nights a week in Las Vegas. Like, that was wild. Like, just she just threw it all against the wall. It was like, whoa, what? Move over, Carrot Top. Um, and then we have the storyline, the ongoing storyline where West is butthurt about Ciara. And he's like, she won't look me in the eyes still, Jesse. And Jesse's like, don't worry, bro. I'm going to talk to her. Which is just so funny because it's like Othello and Iago of like just whispering and I'll take care of it, my friend West. And then his way of taking care of it is like, Ciara, you should talk to West more. Hey, can I see your tits? Can I look at those big melons that you have? But Jesse says, hey, listen, I'm friends with both of you and it shouldn't be like this. Which I always just now, every time I just even hear Jesse speak, I always just think there's some sexual connotation of like, it shouldn't be like that with us. We should all be sleeping together in the same bed. And then, of course, we have the Bravo Watch What Happens Live, where Spritzer Wars started with Kyle. Paige got put in the middle of the Craig-Kyle fight. And Paige is like, this is not my fault at all, right? And then last week's episode, Kyle was like, we will have this conversation about spritzers now, Craig. And Craig is like, I want to do it tomorrow, dude. And Kyle's like, well, I just want to make sure you're able to enjoy your weekend. And Craig's like, I don't want to. Just like a child. I don't want to. And Kyle like went outside and was like, this motherfucking sea sucker, da-da-da-da-da. And then also the storyline with Craig and Paige where, 2 episodes ago, they were at that Australian restaurant and he was like, I never thought I'd be in this submissive of a relationship. So the end of last week's episode, they were in a pool raft. Paige is going to find a way to lay down even if it's outside at the party. There's like a pool raft like with like little shark fins around it and like a palm tree set up for the pirate theme. And, Paige is relaying to Craig, like, listen, my career is way different than when we met, and I don't feel bad about that. And Craig's like, well, that's like a little unfair. And it's just awkward, right? So that's where we open up. It's July 27th, 5:27 p.m. in the summer house. People are dancing. Kyle's like thrust humping into Amanda, his girlfriend, also dressed up like a parakeet. And back to the Craig conversation, Craig's like, I'm just asking for clarity and making sure like we're still good. And Paige is like, I'll give you a yearly review. And Craig's like, okay, with a smile on his face. And then Paige kind of bluntly goes, well, and I'll let you know if you're fired or not. And Craig doesn't find this funny. And then it's just like an awkward stare off. And he's like, okay. And then Kyle in his pirate outfit, he comes over and he's like, hello, ladies, hello. He's like, doesn't this look romantic, huh? Do you think there's a world, Paige, in which we could trade spots so I could talk to Craig? And Paige is like, fuck yeah, I'd love to get out of here. I'm getting seasick. And Craig's just kind of taking this all in. And Paige says in a talking head, Craig's saying that he doesn't feel valued. And he's worried about how the tour is going to affect our relationship. I'm not going away to war, she says. It's 3 months. Then I'm going to be just traveling a lot. Craig, by the way, is like, no, I'm going to get we can talk, but I'm going to go get a refill first. I got to refill the bevy. I'm going to get my Spritz Society. And also, this would have been so funny if because Kyle always comes over with a lover boy in his hand because it's great brand promotion. But Craig should have went and got like the biggest can of Spritz Society ever and brought that back down. So it would be like battling like logos during this whole scene. Also, remember, we found out in the Summer House after show on Peacock last week that Craig was doing weird things to Paige, like telling her that tours break up families, and sent her a documentary that ABBA did about how it really affected their family during one of the big ABBA tours in the, late 70s, which is just wild. Like, how did Craig find that ABBA documentary in the first place? Like, I love ABBA and I love that documentary, but how did Craig find that documentary? Like, it just seems Craig is like YouTube hates to see Craig coming because that guy is learning most of his information straight off of YouTube. But he's like, yeah, I'm just going to get a refill, bro, and then we can talk. Paige continues in the talking head. I said, he can come to any tour stop we do, and I'll give him discounted tickets. Now, he said, yeah, like, he can come on the Giggly Squad tour. I'm not trying to keep him out of this. And, you can also be there, she says. You're my boyfriend. She says, I love Craig, but I've worked my whole life to do something like this, and it's finally happening. Also, I want to point out in the talking head, Paige, I don't know a lot about fashion, obviously, but Craig's wearing like one of those old, what do you call it, like wife beaters? I don't know that. I don't think that's the phrase we use anymore. Was that like a tank top? Is that what we call it, a tank top? But there's like a metal finger that has like the OK sign that looks like it's pinching her nipple on the outside of this shirt. And I was like, we've gone too far with fashion. And also, I could not pull this off. Paige pulls this off, but I was like, whoa, what is that? And then I was like, oh, it looks like it's pinching her nipple. And I also like Paige worked her whole life for this, and I understand that sentiment. But also, the reality is you worked your whole life for this, but you also didn't know you were working your whole life for this specifically. Nobody knew that podcasts would hit the way they would. Nobody knew reality shows would exist in the form that they exist in. So I get her sentiment. But yeah, you can't plan for what has happened, especially for Paige. But Paige seems like she gets stressed out very easily with a lot of things. And I don't mean she becomes a total wreck, but you can tell she internalizes stress a lot, and that she just needs constant support. And that's why probably this relationship was not destined to work out, because Craig's not perfect. We know that. But Craig needs constant support. Craig needs, it just really felt like he was needing to lock this down to make him feel secure. But Paige says, I feel like I'm going to need to check in on him too much, in a sense. Okay, so we see 4 boxes of people partying all around. Jesse's talking to some girls, just being a cool guy. Emerald is doing a shot inside the summer house. And Jesse's talking to the ladies, and he's like, who's got a husband right here, huh? And this lady raises his hand, and he's like, hey, congrats, all right. And then Jesse finally, Jesse's like, well, I'm dating someone. I was just curious for you guys. And they're like, is she here? Yeah, but she's just not here this weekend. Yeah. So if anybody was accidentally to fall on my dick, I can't help that, right? Like, that's not my fault if that happens. Huh? Anyways, Jesse goes, do the parties get old? And he's asking this of the person that's married. And they're like, yeah, you're in a relationship. And Jesse's like, no way. Parties never get old. In a talking head, Jesse goes, this summer I thought I would be like dating girls and having fun, but I don't want to do anything to jeopardize my relationship with Lexi. So I'm not like trying to flirt with them. I'm just making conversation, having fun talking to people. And those people seem to have a vagina. And then he gives one of those creepy toothy smiles where he's like, I'm not talking to anybody with a penis. Oh, just vaginas. This guy is not ready for a relationship. I give him maybe 3 years before he would even consider it. And he's going to be dragged kicking and screaming. But I want to remind people, we're 3 weekends in. And he's like, I'm trying to be respectful to Lexi, so blame her if I'm not nearly as much fun as I usually am. I thought this summer would be me and Wes tag teaming women, and it's not like that. Oh, Lexi, it's horrible. And then we now go to Lil and Carl, and Carl's trying to spit game to Lil, and Lil seems to be the one mainly spitting game. And Lil points out something that we all, I think, agree with. She goes, anyways, magicians are dope. And Carl's shaking his head like, yep. And he's dressed as a pirate as well. He's like, yep. And she goes, when I have free time, I would love to either A, go to magic school, or B, just learn magic. And also, wait, can you just, what's in my purse at all times, Carl? Can you guess? And Carl's like, you're ready for magic. And yeah, she pulls out like a deck of cards or like some magic trick. And she goes, but I don't know any tricks. I just keep them in my purse for good luck. And at this point, I just feel, you can't help but feel for Carl. He is not used to spitting game without being fucked up. And he's just like, I wonder what's really going through Carl's head of like, the girl has handed me a box of magic from her purse and has confided in me that she wants to go to magic school or just learn magic, which, it's not a big difference there. It's all magic. But she's like, inside, Emerald and Gabby are talking. And Gabby's like, Emerald, have you met the girl that Carl's talking to? And she goes, apparently he sat next to her parents a year ago. And Emerald's like, oh, that's the same girl? He was talking about this girl from like the soccer game. And we keep cutting to Emerald. We keep cutting to Lil outside. And now she's like swaying her hands in the air. Like, it's just her and Carl Todd. They're not dancing. She's just swaying her hands. She's a free spirit, swaying her hands. And then Carl's like, hey, I don't know if I told you, I'm launching this whole new business. So now he's trying to impress her. He's like, hey, maybe we put the magic tricks down for a sec. I'm launching this whole new business. And she goes, your cafe? And he goes, yep, soft bar. It's a bar and cafe that doesn't serve alcohol. And then Lil immediately goes, can you host open mic nights? And I'm like, no. Don't say you want to do stand up too. Don't say you want to do stand up. And Lil goes, you could literally be, I go hard for soft bar. And Carl's like, yes, more life, high five. Which actually, that's not a bad slogan. I go hard for soft bar. He probably will end up using that. Anyways, Carl says, I'm doing a friends and family event next week. And for the business, and do you want to come? And you can tell he's nervous. And she's like, yeah. In a talking head, Carl says, after my last relationship with Lindsay, one of the most important things is that my partner believes in me and believes in my ideas. And we flash back to last season when they were a spaceman costume theme. And Lindsay's like, but something that turns me on, Carl, is like when my man is there crushing life. And he's like, you don't think I'm crushing life? And she goes, no, I don't. And let's talk about that for a second, because that's casually cruel in a sense. But at the same time, it's like Paige and Craig in a sense of like, there are certain things that people want out of their partners and want out of themselves. And when those are not aligned, it most likely is not going to work. And Lindsay wanted somebody that is crushing life. Now, this Turner Cooke, her baby daddy, he's like a big tech medical guy, right? So I think in Lindsay's head, that is probably crushing life. But somebody on Summer House, like throwing out ideas like soft bar, in Lindsay's estimation, is not crushing life. It doesn't mean in our estimation, in her estimation. So she is not wrong, but it is a brutal thing to hear from your partner. Carl says, so when someone is listening and receptive and excited for you, regardless of the idea you have, it feels good. It's what I've been kind of wanting. Like, I want that, and I want somebody that is interested in magic. But anyways, Lil goes, I just want to support you, Carl, and I want to watch you fucking flourish. And she's using big, like, hand gestures while she says this. She, you know, I'll just say it. She scares me. There's a little bit of a fear I have when I watch Lil. And no offense to Lil, she didn't ask for this. Well, I mean, she did sign up for this. Now, Craig, just going out to refill his drink, has now refilled his drink and now walked upstairs as Kyle is now fully lounging in this pool floaty. He's two lover boys in his hand. So even though he's not in the scene with Craig, he is brand representing. So we are noticing this going, am I thirsty for Loverboy right now? Now Jesse and Wes, the three testicles, are over at the bar, and Wes is like, do you want some salami? And he's trying to talk to Ciara dressed up in costume, and Wes is like, fuck, it's kind of scary if we're being honest. Your outfit's kind of scary if we're being honest. And Wes is trying to like joke around with Ciara, and Ciara's kind of like joking back, but not really. And then Jesse's right there. And it's like, hey, Ciara, give your friend Wes a hug. Give him a hug. And Ciara's like, Jesse, shut up. And Wes in a talking head goes, I get what Jesse's trying to do. Last summer was super fucking great. Like, that was like Scottie Pippen, Jordan, and Rodman all together. And there's a flashback of last summer when Jesse, Ciara in the middle, and Wes were all in a bed together. And I love that in Wes' head, that was Pippen, Jordan, and Rodman. And I don't know enough about sports. Did they all share a summer bed at some point, Pippen, Jordan, and Rodman? I never thought of, like, even when I watched their scenes last season, I was like, oh, it's cute. But I never was like, God damn, they're good reality television. Now I'm saying they're good reality television. But Wes is like, I'm getting better at dealing with the awkwardness of this situation. But I don't see any like 3-seat banana boats in our future. Also, I want to point out once again, Wes is in the Boys to Men outfit with like the glasses, like the sleeveless cardigan, like Motown Philly back again, doing a little East Coast swing. Boys to men going on, not to. So now Jesse has pulled Ciara for a chat, their lane. Kyle is still lounging by himself. Craig is now upstairs checking his computer in the bedroom, not rushing to this conversation with Kyle at all. So now Jesse is talking to Ciara sitting down. He's like, can you take some of your outfit off? Can you get a little reprieve? I want to see your beautiful face, he says. And then he goes, dude, when she's taking her off her, her mask, he goes, dude, you go so hard. You go so hard. And Ciara's like, yeah, you would never call me non-committal, you know? And then just goes, if anything, you commit too hard. Every line he says, you can read with a lascivious, creepy tone. And Ciara's like, oh, you think I committed too hard? And then Jesse goes, probably to my boy. They laugh. Jesse gives a big toothy laugh. And Ciara's like, wow, Jesse Solomon. And then Wes, we see he's like flirting with girls in the corner as they're having the conversation, just doing his thing. And then Jesse goes, well, Ciara, I just feel like you're still giving neggy energy. Can we stop with the neggy and the slumby? It's negative, slumber. Like, we do not need to do this to every word. Is this whatever age Jesse is? Is this the thing that the guys are doing? Like, you're giving neggy energy. You want a little pancakey? Do you want a little, do you want a little sucky of my toe-y? But you're giving neggy energy towards Wes. I'm just trying to figure out, like, what he's supposed to do to, like, get past this, Ciara. When we all can just, like, fully 100% move on. And Ciara goes, he can do whatever he wants. We are coexisting at this point. That's fine. But, like, we're not going to act like he didn't just use me the entire last summer. Like, I'm sorry, but you guys are fucking nuts. Yes, take your fucking lumps. By the way, the fact that they're able to actually be in the house at all is already a win for Wes. Why does it have to be everything's totally normal? Because that would be a big flippin' lie. But I totally agree with Ciara on this. And Jesse goes, damn, that's sad. Sad stuff. That's saddy. Kyle's complaining that he's in the dinghy by himself. He's like, I didn't know I'd be in this dinghy by myself for 10 minutes, making it real awkward. We cut up to Craig. He's off his computer now, but now he is eating chips. He's eating potato chips, looking at himself in the mirror. Because, you know, when you got it like that, you probably spend a good, like, hour of your day just staring at yourself, even if you're eating chips. So Wes notices that Jesse and Ciara are talking, and he's like, oh, I'm afraid they're talking about me. Ciara tells Jesse, you know when you really like somebody at first and they talk you into liking them? And Jesse's like, that's how you felt? Because Ciara's saying she felt like people talked her into liking Wes. And then Jesse takes this as an opportunity to go in for the kill. He's like, then why didn't you just give me a chance? And Ciara's laughing. I'm like, do not encourage this, Ciara. Why didn't you give me a chance? And then Ciara goes, why didn't you try? And Jesse goes, he called dibs. My boys called dibbies. And Ciara's like, Jesse Solomon, don't let whoever stop you from finding your wife, okay? And then Jesse goes, so you're saying don't let Lexi stop me from you? Ha ha. And then he gives that tooth you. Ha 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 ha. And Ciara's like, no, that is not what I'm saying. He's like, ha 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 ha. Ciara in a talking head goes, this is the first time I'm ever hearing Jesse say that he was potentially interested. Honestly, last year, this time, it was fair game. And we have a flashback from last summer of, like, if you could fuck Wes or Jesse, and she said, oh, both of them are great. But Ciara's like, I don't need to know that. And also, it is so stupid for bros calling dibs. Like, it's like, I call dibsies. Broy dibsies. Yeah, that's a dumb concept. But it's also dumb that Jesse told Ciara. Like, bros are going to be bros. And unfortunately, you know, we learned the hard way not to be bros. But the dibs, like, do not then tell Ciara. This is why this dude is an undercover narc, man. This guy is trying to pose as Wes' friends. And I do know he actually does love Wes. But he's not doing Wes any favors. He's only trying to make himself look better in the process. But Ciara's like, sorry, buddy, you're practically married now, my friend. And Jesse's like, yeah. I guess I am practically married. Ugh. Sucks. Okay, so Princess Craig is finally coming outside of the summer house to have this conversation with Kyle. Kyle's now on his phone. He's telling some of the girls, yeah, well, I'll take a picture when I get back over here. Craig seems like a nice guy to the fans. I will say this about most Bravo celebrities, especially the non-housewives ones. They're usually really nice to anybody that goes up to them. I feel like most of them really appreciate the opportunity. And Kyle's like, oh, dude, I was like, do I need to go find you or not, man? And Jesse is watching this. By the way, this is why, like, Jesse is like a good housewife because he starts shit. He's like, looks out for number one, but he does it in a sneaky way. And he also has a keen awareness of everything going on in a 360 view. Think about that. This dude came home drunk from a bar at the end of the episode and he was already like, there's a threesome happening. Like, he was very aware. He's aware of everything. Do not let him try to play stupid with you. This dude is way smarter than anybody gives him credit for. So he's watching this and tells Ciara, Craig also just continues to just like big dick Kyle, like all over the place. He's got that big sewing down south pillow dick, dude. And Jesse knows it immediately. He's like, yeah, dude, Craig's just making him wait in that fucking raft by himself when he's like, I need to go get a drink. And Ciara's like, wow, okay. And Jesse was like, he was also just like, even if he apologizes, like, that's not good enough for me. Like, I need for him to like change his entire mind how he views this shit. And we flash back to Craig talking to Jesse about this. And Craig going, well, I don't see where he's coming from. Because by burning bridges, it's no way to the top. Like, I pulled Loverboy from all of our stores. I'll never fucking touch it again. And Wes is like, really? Yeah, like, I pulled it from everything. Now, listen, I'm not a big store guy, but I will say, is the Sewing Down, I went to Sewing Down South in Charleston and I really liked it. I bought a hat to support the business. And this hat was cool because they were donating like a certain amount to like a cancer charity. But like, is the Sewing Down South, is that a place to get hammered? Like, I didn't even see, I didn't see beverages there, but I might not have been looking hard enough. Are they moving a lot of Loverboy usually at Sewing Down South? Like, what businesses is Craig refusing? Like, if Craig had like a chain of bars, if he was like the owner of Chili's, I'd be like, oh fuck, dude, I gotta kiss this guy's nuts. I don't know why I use Chili's, but like a big chain. But like, no offense to Sewing Down South, I think it does really well, right? But like, was that a place? First off, when you go to a pillow store, you like, let's get our fucking drink on, and secondly, why would there be? why? How much business did Kyle lose from Sewing Down South? But Jesse's like, yes, Ciara. He like pulled it from everything. And Ciara's like, well, Kyle's not going to change his opinion, not in an hour. So now we go to this actual conversations of these two moguls. And they're just kind of like staring in costume and just making awkward conversation. And it's just so funny to look at Craig like looking seriously with the under eye makeup and the tilted pirate hat. And then Kyle's like, well, look, man, I would have loved to have just talked, when we first got here, dude. But my goal is just to like put this to bed. Focus on us. Go back to like a world in where we can go on double dates. Go back to a world. I love that like the double dates thing keeps getting brought up of like, the main thing here, I want to secure double dates for the near future. That is my main. If we're messing with the double dates thing, that's where I got a real problem. But Craig jumps in and goes, you are the only one, Kyle, that made this like a thing. And Kyle goes, look, I've known you for 6 years, bro. You know it is getting serious when bro is getting thrown out in the conversation. Because we always know they're bros, but when you say bro in a bro conversation, that's intense, bro. Like, you've doubled the bro. Look, I've known you for 6 years, bro. If I know my friend spent his blood, sweat, and tears building something, the last thing I'm going to do is get into bed with a direct competitor. And Craig is like, yeah, but you're keeping money out of people's pockets. And Kyle's like, no, Craig, it was about how you went about it, man. Now use bro and man. Craig goes, what do you mean how I went about it? Even if I never told you about it, doing the deal that I did does not affect Loverboy. And Kyle's like, no, it was just about how you went about it. It's not that you ended up in business. And he goes, what do you mean how I went about it, Kyle? I was approached with the deal. I came and I told you about the deal, and then I took the deal. You just texted me and you said, please don't do the deal. And Kyle's like, no, I didn't say that, bro. I said, give me a chance to respond, bro. You should have just been honest with me and been like, listen, this deal is kind of done. Whether you had signed or not, it was already like the ship sailed. I mean, in the text messages, Craig, you kind of in the moment. And Craig's like, I said it was the business. And you hated that. You were like, that's what people say that when they don't want to feel bad about something like that. Because Craig had texted like, it's just business. And Craig's like, you said I have a reputation known for lying in front of the whole world. Now, reminder, in front of the whole world was Watch What Happens Live. Now, Watch What Happens Live, it probably got like 400,000 people viewing, maybe more in Peacock. But yeah, so not the whole world, Craig, so don't worry, but this world, yes. So Craig's like, Kyle, what the fuck, dude? Like, that's fucking nuts. And Kyle goes, I don't care. I don't care. And Craig's like, you're not going to apologize? Then what do we have to talk about? Because if you're not sorry for what you did, then yeah, we're not cool. And it's just so great because you see Kyle and you just realize once again he's in a pirate outfit with like an eye patch and like face makeup on. And he's like, zoinks, we're not cool? What, dude? Bro! We come back from commercial and Kyle's like, bro, I don't think your level of sadness could even come close to how devastated I was. And Craig's like, you threw the first punch, Kyle. You could have just taken a fucking breath. Kyle's like, listen, I'm not trying to like make excuses for my reactions, for my behavior. Sometimes my business is all consuming. And so, yeah, when I feel like my business is being talked about negatively, I almost feel like I'm being attacked on a personal level. And Craig's like, that's clear, bro. And then there's a pause where they just stare at each other. And then Kyle's like, all I care about is our friendship, okay? That's not exactly true. You care about the business. You just said you care about the business first. Friendship maybe after that. But he's like, all I care about is our friendship, okay? I apologize for calling you a liar. One of the things that I need to work on is how I react and how I let my impulses take over and I let my emotions get the best of me. Which, by the way, they could have done one of those troll cuts with the editors with every time Kyle, I mean, we don't have that kind of time, but where Kyle's emotionally lost it on Summer House. But he says, I'm almost 42 years old. That's a road I'm still navigating, bro. For that, I am sorry. And Craig's like, I appreciate that. Ultimately, bro, I care about us, Craig. I care about our girls. I care about the ladies. And like when I heard like you were like iffy on coming up, I'm like, oh man, like that's the last thing I would want you to feel. I don't want you to ever feel like you're not welcome in the Summer House. And Craig's like, yeah, I just felt like, I didn't know how to fix it. And I felt awkward and like, again, just sad because I don't have a ton of friends. And I was bummed that it upset you too much. And like, I swear to you, it wasn't purposeful. And then Kyle stands up off the dinghy. He's like, come here, brothers hug. Give me a bear hug. Come on, let's hug in this dinghy. Let's do it. And Craig's like, yeah, cheers. I appreciate it. Yeah, I'd like to be able to support you guys again and be happy to be a part of it. So, okay, Spritzer Wars at this point is on pause. I feel like we will fight about spritzers again, but for now, the Summer House is safe, and Craig and Kyle are talking again. Kyle is taking pictures with the magician Lil. He's like, more life, all right. Ciara wants to get out of her outfit. Kyle and Craig are still hugging on their way to the door. And Craig's like, oh, by the way, I didn't think you, I just thought you sold teas. I didn't know you did spritzes. Like, come on, you knew he did spritzes. Why are we lying? Come on, I even knew he did spritzes. And I'm not even in the spritzer business. Anyways, Jesse sees another person dressed in a sailor's outfit. He's like, oh, bro stole my look. Oh, man. Anyways, you can tell Kyle's happy. The Summer House is dancing again. We see Wes drinking out of a bottle. Everybody's just feeling the vibes, right? Kyle's like, Carl, great party. You really shipped it because they're on a pirate ship. I get it. They're taking group pictures. But this is what I'm talking about. It usually is fun vibes. We even see Craig in the photos, Jesse with his toothy smile. And it's very reminiscent of like that season of Beverly Hills when Kyle's like, we were all so happy that day. Who knows what's going to happen from here? We see Imrul talking to Paige and Ciara, and he's talking to them about like Burning Man jokes. He's like, I met a girl named Polly at Burning Man, and it's like, it's the hardest name over at Burning Man because you say you're Polly, everyone is Polly over there. He means polyamorous, you guys. Obviously, you know that, but polyamorous, I mean, multiple partners. And it's like, we get it, dude. You are nonstop on that dick. We get it, dude. It's like, but also, I love getting to know the poly community more and the jokes and lingo that they use. Now Kyle is changed into an inflatable shark outfit as he gets behind the ones and twos, the DJ stand. This party is going nonstop. I love how they make it seem like this packed party, but then sometimes you'll get wider shots and you're like, oh, I think there's like a 20 people there, maybe. I don't know. Anyways, Ciara's talking to Carl and it was like, hey, I see you talking to the magician Lil over there. Are you going to ask her on a date? He's like, I did. And she's like, oh, good for you, Carl. And then this is weird because in the mid-season trailer we see at the end of this episode, Carl tells Paige of like, I have a crush on you. No, Carl tells Ciara, I have a crush on you. So it is, because I don't see a world in which Ciara has a crush on Carl, even though it would be kind of not, like I trust Carl at this point more than I trust Jesse, right? But anyways, Ciara's talking about this with Carl and being excited. And as this is happening, we see Lil like foreground just jumping by herself in the dance pit. She's just jumping. But Carl tells Ciara, I like how excited you are for me. I like that. And Ciara's like, yeah, well, I definitely wasn't this excited for your wedding, I'll be honest. And Carl's like, that's for damn sure. That is for damn sure. Jesse Solomon still flirting with the peeps at this party. West is flirting with peeps. And we see Craig and Amanda Batula now talking, all smiles because they've made up with Kyle. And they are watching they're watching Jesse Solomon. And Craig's like, it's crazy watching Jesse and Wes because it's like little kids with like shiny objects. And what he means is like women. He's like, it reminds me of Whitney, Shep, and Austin when we used to go out on town and flirt with women on camera. Like, that's what he's saying. He's like, it's like little kids with shiny objects, and those objects are girls, folks. We see Wes do splits. He's at that point of like, I'm going to impress the girls with my splits. Oh, check it out. I didn't even hit my nuts. Yeah. It's like all of the old party tricks. And Craig goes, today Jesse was like, when do you stop looking? And we flash back to this scene where Jesse's like, how do you graduate to being like fucking okay with all these hot chicks running around, Craig? And Craig is like, well, let me tell you. Well, you date your number one. You date the girl that you would want to cheat on your girlfriend with. And until you meet that girl, don't date anyone. Guys, I've been thinking about that comment since Wednesday. Wait, what is that? Okay, date the girl you would cheat on your girlfriend with, and then don't. I feel like I have to go into the matrix to fully understand that. I feel like it's dark, but I don't know why it's dark. Date the girl you would want to cheat on your girlfriend with. Date the girl you would want to cheat on your girlfriend, and then don't date anybody until then. I feel like this is like a math equation or something. Amanda tells Craig, it's hard to get a read on Jesse sometimes. I'm like, no, it isn't. He just wants to have sex. Amanda's like, it seems like he wants help and we want to try to help him, but it's not always clear where he stands. Because sometimes he's like, all these girls coming today. And other times he's like, no, I'm going to commit to Lexi. Because if she was here, he'd be like on her hip, like next to her, like he would be like a little parrot, right? She is like his prize, Amanda says. And so Craig calls over Jesse to have a chat. And Craig's like, Amanda was filling me in, and she said, like, usually you're with Lexi when she's here. And he's like, oh, yeah. No, like, I'm seeing these hot girls. And I'm like, and Craig's smiling, like, oh, I've been there, bro. And Amanda goes, are you afraid to change your ways, Jesse Solomon? And by the way, I want to point out, for everybody saying, like, everybody like standing up for Jesse or whatever, or like, he's literally wearing a hat at this point. He's taken off his captain's hat. He's putting on a new hat, and it says did I shave my balls for this? Guys, I'm not joking. He's wearing a hat and saying, did I shave my balls for this? Great stuff, folks. Imagine hooking up with a dude that wore, did I shave my balls for this? And then you hook up with him and like potentially, I feel like we got a forest fire situation down below for Jesse Solomon. I feel like it's like just pube central down there. Jesse goes, yeah, Amanda, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a small part of me that is like nervous. And Amanda's like, well, she should make you want to change. And Jesse's like, yeah, at like some point, don't I have to just like hang up the cleats and like, you know, like pack it in? I like he talks about it like he's a retired athlete. Like, I've went as far as I'm Tom Brady. I've went as far as I can go. But that's how he's almost viewing it. He also poses it as a question. And Craig's like, no, bro, you don't have to do that. You don't date people because they check all the boxes. You date because you're like, I don't want to fucking do anything else but hang with you anymore. Jesse already knows of like, oh, fuck, that's not the situation with Lexi. And then he goes, well, I had a really good conversation with Ciara and really good. And it was like very heartwarming, my conversation. And Amanda goes, yeah, I feel like sometimes you guys are going to date. Amanda, this is like, I love Amanda Batula so much, but I will say even the situation she's been through with her own husband in the past, like, why would you ever put this shit out there? And I'm just going to give her a pass and say she's putting it out there because she knows like it's like good reality television to get people in the cast to hook up with each other. But never in a million years should you encourage, nor anybody encourage Ciara to date Jesse Solomon. Not at this point, not for years and years. I'm not saying never, but not right now. And Jesse goes, yeah, Amanda, that's what I asked her. That's what I said. I asked her, like, what could have been if I showed up on time a year ago? And she was like, why didn't you try? And I was like, well, my boy called dibs. I love that we're, like, claiming them like cattle. And Amanda's like, well, who are you burning, building, or saving, Lexi or Ciara? And Jesse goes, they're both so tiny. I'm throwing both over my shoulder. I'll save both of them. And Craig's like, well, that's not nothing, Jesse. I mean, I'm not blind, Craig says. No, sorry, Jesse says, I'm not blind. Look, have you looked at Ciara? I like it. He's like, have you seen those tits? Have you seen that, brother? And Amanda? She has a heart of gold, Amanda. She's drop dead gorgeous. She's so sweet, but like, you know, with a certain people, it's a friend vibe or a dating vibe. And with us, it's been like a friend vibe because she dated my friend. And like, we haven't discovered beyond that. He leaves it open. I haven't explored like Christopher Columbus, but more than that. He's so wanting to be like led into this. Like, so far it's a friend vibe, unless you disagree. If you disagree, I'm fully in. If you disagree, let's do this. But Amanda goes, would you? Would you? And Jesse's like, Amanda. And she's like, Jesse. And he's like, would I date Ciara? I'm a heterosexual male. Like, yeah. And at this point, Wes comes up and bear hugs Jesse from the back and gives him like a wrestling suplex. And this is right after that and pulls Jesse away. So what was going to, they were just talking about him like potentially boning Ciara. And then Wes comes up. So at this point, Ciara goes to her home base, the bed, with Ciara. Paige and Ciara go to the bed, and Kyle is now talking to Amanda and Craig about Jesse and Ciara talking. And then we see to the side of the house, Wes and Jesse, just brothers, they're pissing in the lawn. And Wes is like, are you going to polish off 2 bottles of Hampty Wah? And just for people at home, that means Hampton's Water, I believe, which is an alcohol brand. Are you going to polish off 2 bottles of Hampty Wah? And Jesse's like, yeah, we are. We're going to polish these off. And Wes is like, dude, you're going to be fucking wrecked, bro. You're going to be fucking wrecked. I don't know. So they're just being bros peeing. And now Carl is sitting with his magician friend Lil, and he's rapping to her. And he's like, I'm like my own voice and my own self, Lil. It's been really nice to like have a new start with everything. Cause like of my past relationship, there's been a lot of ups and downs. I mean, she got pregnant with his child in the bed I paid for in that apartment. And we found out, I think Carl on the after show said he found out that the bed was in there. Now, who knows if it was created in that bed? It could have been at his place, but I think he knew the layout of that because they use the same organization designer, and that designer like put stuff on that their social media, and that's how he saw that the bed was still there, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. Now we cut to Lindsay. Lindsay is saging the apartment, and she's letting us know. In fact, we see a clip of her like uninstalling the rad house, the neon thing that was built. And we see, I think Danielle's with her, and a guy's running the camera, and we hear a guy's voice. Is this Turner Couffet? Is this her baby daddy that's filming this? But the thing breaks, the Rad House sign breaks. And I will say, I've said many times on this show, my reality show museum, which we are now more specifying as the reality show museum of broken dreams and relationships. The Rad House neon sign would go perfect in my reality show museum, even in its broken state. And I'm scared Lindsay threw it away, but I think Lindsay's a smart businesswoman. So I think it is still potentially there. So I maybe will reach out to Lindsay and see, hey, what are we talking financial, like money wise? Can I donate to this baby's college fund or something to get the Rad House sign? But she was like, yeah, like, listen, it was going to be too much to move once I got pregnant. And I just decided to stay here in this apartment. She got rid of the pull-out couch and all of these like toxic, like also she got rid of the couch too. And it's like the couch that they broke up on. That would be great in the museum as well. Like I would love the couch, and people could be like, they could sit on the couch, they could feel the vibes. She's talking to her aunt on the phone on a FaceTime call and saying that like, they were talking about the relationship, and the aunt says, listen, I'm thrilled that you're no longer with Carl, even though I would have been okay no matter what. But she says, I have a hard time looking at Carl in the eyes sometimes still. But you know, I am done with that whole phase of my life. She says she has no FOMO at all about missing the shipwrecked party, having to dress up, and, you know, and then she goes, oh, by the way, it was my idea anyways. The whole party was my idea. I was the one who said shipwrecked. Carl is like, he is the most non-creative guy I've ever met, Lindsay says. He stole all my like ideas and thoughts. He didn't steal the soft bar. I know he didn't steal that. But he's like, of course he's still stealing ideas. So dark, man. It's so dark. Anyways, back at the summer house, Jesse is showing Wes how he was dancing so hard on the dance floor, he ripped his pants. And Wes is like, that's cool, man. Good stuff. Good stuff. And then Wes is like, Jesse, how was your island conversation with Ciara? It looked like long. Were you like bagging on me? And just like, no, it was good. No. In fact, it wasn't about you at all. I was literally trying to plant seeds to sleep with her. No, he goes, I wanted to defend your honor, Wes. It's like, she just keeps going back to like you using her. And I said to her, I was like, how do we get to the place where like, we're all friends again? And she kind of took a hard line. And she like, was honestly like, yeah, I don't see how we get back to that. And Wes is like, she's going to hold her ground. Interesting. She did the same thing with Austin, you know, like he publicly backstabbed her, and I tried to do the opposite of that, but like, it's the same perception. Yeah. But I mean, also if I could be mistaken, Austin Kroll didn't do interviews with the New York Times. So it's a little bit different. And I mean, it's different in a lot of ways, and it's never a good sign to compare yourself to Austin, but also Jesse totally leaves out the fact that I'm hitting on her at the same time. Right. But Wes in a talking head is like, I mean, the relationship I thought was like cute and fun. And I liked her, and I thought we were becoming friends-ish, maybe, whatever. And so saying that I used her kind of invalidates everything. It's almost like she's the bad person, not me. I've been the hero all along. I hope everybody sees my side. It's just really confusing and weird, but not as confusing as weird as it potentially was for Ciara after I slept with her and dumped her. I don't know. Jesse goes, well, anyways, I hope you don't feel weird about like me having a friendship with her. And Wes is like, no, I'm not 12. And then Jesse goes, would you feel any type of way if you saw her dating? Like, I love he's like planning to, would you feel any sort of way if you saw her dating? And that's Jesse's way of saying, like, would you feel weird if she was dating me? And he's like, oh, I thought I said it. No, I never said it. But Wes says he'd be relieved and happy. And Jesse's like, really? So now he's going to angle it potentially of like, I'll date Ciara because it'll help my boy West out because it'll make him feel relieved and happy. There we go. Amazing. So now upstairs in the summer bed, Paige is talking to Ciara about Craig having hurt feelings about going on tour and needing attention. And she says, yeah, Craig said, you know, I want to make sure that this relationship is still a priority, that I'm still a priority. And she goes, and now that we're whispering, and this should be another no-no. Ciara's taking her laptop and put it on her face so we can't see what she's saying. And like Paige is like, I'm whispering now, even though we can still hear what Paige is saying. He goes, he's not supportive. And I like, well, I'll feel like his feelings get hurt, Ciara, if I'm shining. If I'm shining, Craig's feelings get hurt. Also, by the way, Ciara has her fucking dirty paint legs on the bed. Like, these are all yellow paint legs, and she's laying on top of the comforter. I even know not to do that. And Ciara goes, I'm not going to tell you again, okay? Like so obviously they've had this conversation again, and Ciara said, this guy doesn't like to see you shine. Now, that's not, I mean, we see little signs of that this season, but that's not signs that we've seen from Craig on camera other seasons, right? Paige goes, and then when we went home from the Australian restaurant, he said, well, obviously on camera, I'm not going to say that you're way busier than me, that your shit is bigger than mine. I'm not going to be negative. And I'm like, well, why? Like, for you, what? That would be validating my shit, Paige says. So Craig says he wouldn't have a conversation during camera filming that she is way busier and more successful than Craig. And Craig now is wandering around in a pirate's outfit going, where's my girlfriend? Where's my girlfriend? And Ciara's like, that in and of itself, Paige? And Paige is like, am I secretly dating a hater? And Ciara's like, yeah, hater. Ciara says that is a hater-ass boyfriend. Paige shouldn't have to pay for your lack of self-confidence and your lack of self-esteem. This is all him, and I've had this conversation multiple times with Paige, she says. Somehow, some way, it does end up becoming the Craig show. Bop-a-doo, bop-a-dee-ee. Paige says, that made me feel weird. And Ciara goes, yeah, if your mother heard that, ugh. And Paige is like, yeah, she'd fucking kill me. Because we know Paige is super close with the family. We hear knocking. It's Craig. So now they have to stop shit-talking Craig. And he's like, am I interrupting anything? What's going on? Am I doing something? Now, after commercial, we come back. And this is when the magician Lil, Carl's girlfriend, or Carl's friend that's a girl, is doing the worm on the tarp. Dude, you would never catch me doing a worm if I knew cameras were anywhere. I love the worm, but you would never catch me doing it. Kyle's dancing in the inflatable shark by himself. People are still genuinely seeming like they're having a good time. Craig's now in the bedroom with Paige and Ciara. Paige is like, I want to go home and see my kitty. Now Amanda comes in, and they're all hanging out together. Just the girls and Craig, which is kind of like a girl in a sense. They're all on their phones, by the way. Ciara and Paige fully on their phones. There's not a care in the world that there's a show being filmed. Just on their phones. Amanda's eating some charcuterie. Craig goes back downstairs. Amanda's like, what are you guys talking about? And they're like, we were talking about Craig, kind of, right? Lil downstairs lets Carl know that she called her parents. They're going to swing by to grab her. What? What is going on in the Hamptons, too? Like, why are do the parents live in the Hamptons? I hope the parents live in the Hamptons and they weren't just, like, waiting outside the summer house for 6 hours to grab Lil. Anyway, so she's like, you can walk me to my car. He's like, yeah, I'll walk you out. I'm Carl. I'll walk you out. Paige says she wants to get some chicken fingers. We see Lil's parent. We hear Lil's parents off camera where they're like, you're in a pirate's outfit. And he's like, arg. The dad goes, arg. So the dad is already doing dad jokes, which I like. But we're going to see Lil again. So don't worry that she has left the summer house. It's okay. It's going to be okay. So Craig, Amanda, and Paige at some point are talking about the sexual tension between Ciara and Jesse. And Paige is like, Alexi's going to have a conniption. And they're like, how's Wes going to feel about it? We cut to Wes outside, who's just doing a solo dance where he's like rolling his body up and down just by himself, just having a good time on Hampty Wah. We kick all the people out. We're doing a debrief of the party. A lot of the whole cast is sitting on the couches. And Jesse turns to Ciara, is like, do you want a foot massage? Do you want a foot massage? And Ciara's like, put him in your mouth, Jesse. So there was like constant, no, Paige says that, put Ciara's feet in your mouth, Ciara's toes. And Jesse's like, oh. And he like starts to grab her feet to do it. And she's like, no, don't do that. But Ciara is comfortably laying both of her legs over Jesse Solomon's laps. Ciara, you've got to help yourself. These men are not going to help you. You have to be better about this. These are wolves in sheep's clothes. These are wolves in hats that say, did I shave my balls for this? That's what's happening here. So anyways, the guys are going to go out tonight. Emerald's like, need to get my dick wet. We need to do what Emerald does. And I've been here 2 weekends and I've already brought home 3 people. Let's bring home 2 more tonight. Now outside, Amanda goes up to Wes to have a heart-to-heart. And Wes is like, Amanda, I'm like, dude, with Ciara, I've been so polite and so nice. And I tried to be so respectful. And like Jesse and Ciara were talking and he was like, hey, like, I think it seems like things are cool. Like you could like give him a hug when he was there. And I think he like led the charge a little aggressive or whatever. But like she goes, no, fuck him. She didn't say fuck him, by the way. But Wes is like, she said, fuck him. Like, I think he used me, like blah, blah, blah. And like, that's not true, dude. Everyone fucking knows that, dude. So quit fucking saying that to people. And I've gone the whole fucking time without saying anything rude. I've been so fucking civil about everything, like respectful about everything. And it's like, I can't anymore. Yeah, I mean, yes, I did reach out to the New York Times a couple of times, dude. But she's like shitting on me to everyone. It's like ruining my reputation. I was never trying to be rude. Oh. And I think she believes that too, Amanda. That's why I'm like, oh no. And Amanda's like, she's hurt. I get it, Amanda. And Amanda's like, sometimes when you're hurt, you're blinded by that. But stop telling my fucking friends that I used you because it's not true. Inside, we see Jesse fully flirting with Ciara. It didn't fucking work, Amanda. That fucking happens. If that's what you need to do to get over me, not like wanting to date you, then fucking do that. But like to like fucking keep villainizing me, it's really, really frustrating, as Lisa Barlow would say. So fucking stop. What a crybaby. Like legitimately, just go talk to her, dude. Just be yourself. Okay, so we get a shot of the hallway. It's like, oh, is my phone frozen? No, what is happening here? 1 second. Oh, what it is that Jesse Solomon went in to pee and he FaceTimed Lexi, I guess. And she's like, are you peeing? And he's like, no. So what is that like? He's like, I just wanted to show you my dick while pee was coming out of it. Craig is upstairs sitting cross-legged on Paige's bed while Paige is just under the covers on her phone. And he's asking her what she ate all day. Like, she's like, oh, you ate a lot of chicken fingers. And Paige does this thing of like, you could just tell she wants to be on her phone. And she goes, can you get your phone, Craig? And he's like, okay, yeah. And she goes, where is it? I know I got it. And he goes, why? And she goes, lay back, now go on it. He goes, why? And she goes, so I can go on mine and go to bed. And Craig's like, well, we didn't hang out that much. By the way, this is the romance we all thought was like a romance. It was like Paige literally going, I want you to look at your phone so you don't have to look at me. Now, back in Jesse's bedroom, he's finished draining the main vein. And he's laying FaceTiming with Lexi. And you can tell he is like a little hammered, right? And she's like, I miss you. And he goes, I miss you. I jerked, and then ladies, this is romance. He goes, I jerked off before the party so I would not like miss you too bad. And she's like, oh, you did? And he's like, yeah, so I wouldn't like fucking, but it didn't work. I missed you a lot. Okay, so it sounds like you jerked off maybe to get yourself less horny so you didn't cheat on her, but like I jerked off because I didn't want to miss you too. I'm so confused with the bro speak in this. And she goes, "Oh my God, that's so sweet." And he goes, "Yeah, I thought about you before. And then I thought about you during Lexi, the party. And come here. Come here." Lexi, by the way, is up in Canada with her family. But she says, "I've been hearing from Jesse nonstop. Even on a regular day, he calls me probably, I'm not joking, 50 times. He calls her on a regular day 50 times. I don't want to hear this shit about Lexi being like, this dude that's a lot, guys. I don't want to say it, but that's a lot. But she says, it makes me feel confident in our relationship. Does it feel confident in your relationship once you've seen this episode? But she's like, I love being kept updated. I love everything that he's doing. But she says, "I'm so happy that you had such a good day, Jesse." And he's like, "Thanks. I'm just thinking like how bad it with Wes and Ciara." And I'm like, how did we get here? And again, I'm just coming back to us, Lex. I'm like, promise me we'll never be there. Me and you. And she goes, "Yeah, I don't see that for us." I mean, but the hidden meaning is like, promise after I fuck you and like totally leave you for like dead. Promise me when I do a New York Times interview that you will not be as mad as Paige is to Wes. But she just says, "Hey, we're two different people than Wes and Ciara." And then he goes, "Ciara's so great. I had such a fun night with her." And she's like, "Good." And she goes, "You can have separate friendships with both." She's being encouraging. She's not feeling threatened by Ciara. She's being encouraging. But I had such a fun day flirting with her. I had such a fun day. Really, I planted some seeds today. I planted some seeds. Anyway, so the guys are going out. Kyle's has his little DJ table turned on. But a lot of they're gonna go out, man. And Craig's gonna go out with them. The ladies have gotten McDonald's ordered from them, so I think that's great. Craig's in his boy outfit, yeah, I'm with the boys, right? Which, by the way, as I get older, the girls have the right move, man. Eating McDonald's in bed with your phone, that's a memorable night. We come back. Now, we find out that Emerald has taken two women back with him from the club, and he puts up like a sweat towel over the camera again, but it only covers like a little portion of, it covers 3/4 of the camera, so you can still see a little fourth at the bottom. But once again, you know how I feel about this. There are rules in the Summer House where we can't do this kind of shit. No. And we see the floor where shoes are getting kicked off, and we hear "Oh, all right." It's 1:51 a.m. Craig now enters the place. 2:00. We have Jesse and Wes coming in. But Craig comes in, he wakes Paige up, and he's like, "Chicken, I couldn't make it. I missed you too much." I'm like, it's 1:51 a.m. What do you mean you couldn't make it? You stayed out plenty. Paige doesn't want to be woken up. And then we see in Emerald's room, the camera's trying to move robotically to the left and right. And I swear to God, we see a little bit of Emerald's naked body. Jesse and Wes are eating McDonald's. Carl comes in, gives a handshake to Kyle. No, gives a handshake to Jesse Solomon. Now, Emerald comes out of the bedroom just in his boxers, and he's like, "It's so fucking hot in that room. I need a fan." So he's left this orgy for a second. He's like, "I gotta cool down." The two women are still in there. But they're like, "Yeah, I got two women back there." And the guys are like, "What? Are you kidding me?" And Jesse's like, Amanda's now down in the kitchen to grab Kyle and lead him to bed. And he's like, "Amanda, I'm going to check out the chicks that Emerald has over." And Amanda's like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, two." And so Jesse Solomon gets up from eating his McDonald's and wanders over to Emerald's room. This is legitimately creepy. You were not invited into the threesome, and you're like, "I'm gonna go check this." These are and obviously it seems like the women were fine with it, but that's kind of, it's gross, but it's also bro, this is Jesse Solomon. It seems like that little nudge that always just getting in there, I'm gonna get into your business, and this is sexy time business. And so he goes into the room and shuts the door, and all of a sudden, in the Summer House cursive writing, it says 37 minutes later, and we see the floor. We see a sock getting tossed down on the floor, and we hear Jesse going, "So good." Anyways, it was so good to see you guys. This is 37 minutes later. But before, when he first walked in, or I think we see it later in the episode, maybe he says, oh, now I'm hard. Ugh. So Jesse comes out bare feet. He goes into his room, shuts the door, so he doesn't check in the kitchen. So he's been gone 37 minutes. By the way, where was Wes during this whole time? He didn't wonder where his buddy. He didn't wonder where his buddy was. Anyways, now I'm so confused. I need more of a timeline breakdown on all of this. But everybody's going to bed. Wes is walking upstairs to his bedroom. He trips while he's looking at his phone. We're looking at our phones too much on this show. So the summer house is winding down for the most part. Jesse, I don't know if I buy that Jesse didn't do anything in this. We'll let Jesse talk about it in a second. So the next morning, Wes and Jesse are waking up. And Jesse's like, dude, Emerald had like 2 chicks here last night. And Wes is like, what? And they're like, how do you know? And he's like, well, I went in and they were like, get in, Jesse. And Wes is like, what were you doing in there? And he was like, no, they were like, get in, Jesse. And I put my toes like where like their faces were. Like my head was like where their toes were and my toes were where their faces were. And so I wasn't like getting involved. And Wes goes, did they seem horny? Yeah, Wes, they seemed horny. And Jesse was like, yeah, they were like, let's fucking fuck around. And I was like, you can suck my toe. And so she sucked my toe and I left. That only usually takes a minute, but I was in there 37 minutes. But I got out of there, dude. And Wes goes, where was I? And Jesse's like, you were fucking in the kitchen, I think. That would have been even darker if Jesse was like, get in here right now, Wes. But Wes is like, I was in the kitchen during a foursome? Jesse in a talking head goes, Jesse, with this talking head, looks like he's on the stand testifying. He goes, I walked in the room. I said, I'm on this side of the bed. You guys are on that side of the bed. I like that he established what he was comfortable with. I established boundaries in relationships. He goes, but I had been partying outside barefoot and then went out to a club. My feet could not have been smelling too great. And then Emerald says, suck his toe. And I'm like, yeah, suck my toe. And they're like, well, you had socks on. He was like, no, I was just barefoot. And he's like, no, you weren't. And he goes, I walked in there with my socks on. And he's like, and then he goes, I've never had my toes sucked, for the record. I've never in my life, never. It's like not my thing. Anyways, now we flash back to that night where we hear Jesse go, now I'm hard. Dude, I'm going to need Summer House to release the full 37-minute audio because they have the audio and they have just the static shot of the ground, but we need that audio. We can clear this up real quick. But also, in what world do you stay in there for 37 minutes? You're not talking politics. Anyways, the next day they're in the pool. Everybody's hungover. They're having like final debrief. Word gets out about Emerald having 2 women in there. And Jesse's like, yeah, I heard there was a threesome happening in Emerald's room. And Amanda's like, yeah, then you said I have to go. Emerald brought 2 girls home. I got to go check on them. And Wes is like, classic. I love it. And Amanda goes, so how did you have the confidence to walk into Emerald's room when you knew he brought 2 girls home? Just unannounced. You just walked in. And Gabby's like, wait, I thought you were joking. He actually brought... He goes, yeah, I just barged in. And they were like, come on, get him. And I was like, no. I was like, no. Lexi is better than foursomes. So I just stayed there 37 minutes and had my toes sucked. You're what an idiot. You can't have your cake and eat it too. Anyways, Amanda's like, wow, I'm going to let her know you said that. And he's like smiling his big toothy grin. And he goes, no, I didn't even consider it. And they're like, every girl's dream. Every girl's dream. And this is when Emerald walks out, like comes strutting out. And we end the episode with a shot of Jesse Solomon's feet. Amazing. And now we have our mid-season trailer for Summer House. We see that Tom Schwartz is there. They're all dressed up in like slumber party gear. We see, I think West get a football pass and he like falls really hard. We see that the guys are like reacting to something. I think it's that bit they do in reality shows where there's that machine that can make you feel a girl's cramps. And I think they're hooked up to that. That's what I think this is. We see Lindsay and Danielle at the doctor's talking about Lindsay's pregnancy and if she might tear and shit herself. We have Kyle having a bro talk with Schwartz going, I would have never thought I would not have kids by now. We have Amanda talking to Kyle saying, there's some days I'm like, should I even have kids? I'm not suited to take care of something else. I mean, someone else, maybe meaning Kyle. Then we have a shot of Lexi saying, Jesse got his toe sucked? And then we hear Lexi talking to Jesse going, you're making it seem like I'm some crazy jealous girl when you let a random girl suck your toes. Yes, Lexi, yes. And then we have an emotional scene where Paige is crying and talking to Ciara. And Ciara's like, no one is going to hate you if you do what's best for you. They're both crying. And Paige is like, I'm just nervous that Craig is going to be like, you're such a fucking bitch. And then we see Lil and Carl in a scene together, the magician Lil. And we see Lindsay. We hear Lindsay goes, you guys have been messaging since last summer. And Carl's like, this is crazy right now. This is literally 9 months later. And Lindsay goes, you have a terrible judge of fucking character. And then Lexi talking to Jesse going, he's getting mad at me about flirting with you in the club. So I don't know who that's. Oh, I think it's to West, but he's talking about Jesse got mad at me for flirting with you in the club. What the fuck is that, Lexi says. And then Lindsay talking to Wes saying, so you cleared the air about being a two-faced liar or not? And Wes has his hands in his head. And then we see Craig tell Ciara, I kind of have a crush on you. And then we have Ciara saying to Emerald, do you bring home girls like this in your own home? Because it's obnoxious at this point. I knew somebody was going to have a problem with it. And then Amanda saying, Jesse is embarrassed that he shared his real feelings. That's probably about Ciara. And then we have Gabby coming down on Jesse Solomon going, don't even do that. And Jesse's like, it was a joke. And Gabby saying, it's not fucking funny. And then we have the last scene where Paige says, Craig says to me, I really wish you wouldn't fucking do this. I wish you didn't do this before you saw the ring. In my head, I was like, this is why we're breaking up, because I don't know if you're lying right now. Zoinks, you guys. What an episode. Okay, you guys, switch on over to the Southern Charm reunion recap with our conversation also with Rod, okay? Love you guys. Bye.